Welcome. In this explainer, we're going to peel back the layers of legal jargon to look at something, well, fundamental. We're talking about how certain landmark court cases are actually the building blocks for a free society.
When you think about what holds a free society together, you might picture big, grand things like constitutions or philosophical ideas. But the truth is, the structure of our freedom is really built piece by piece, decision by decision, in courtrooms all over the world. These aren't just abstract theories. They're specific, really powerful judgments that define our rights. So let's dive in and see how they form the actual architecture of liberty.
All right, so here's our blueprint for today. We're going to start with the invisible threads of care that connect all of us. Then we'll move to the fortress of the home, the absolute central pillar of human dignity, and wrap up with the open gate of free speech. You'll see how these pieces fit together to build the structure that protects every single one of us.
Okay, first up, the connecting beams of our structure, these invisible threads that tie us all together. And believe it or not, this whole idea starts not with some big political declaration, but with a contaminated bottle of ginger beer.
So picture this. A woman, Mrs. Donahue, gets sick after drinking a beverage that had a decomposed snail in it. Yikes. But here's the legal twist. She didn't buy the drink herself. A friend did. So she had no direct contract with the manufacturer. Back then, that meant, legally speaking, tough luck. This simple, kind of gross incident raised a huge question for our modern world. Who's responsible when your actions hurt someone you've never even met? And this is where Lord Atkin's answer was just brilliant. He took a universal moral idea, love your neighbor, and turned it into a core legal principle. He literally asks, who in law is my neighbor? And his answer, well, it changed everything. And boom, here's the solution. The neighbor principle. It's so clever. Your neighbor isn't just the person who lives next door. It's anyone you can reasonably predict will be affected by what you do. So the drink maker should have known that a contaminated drink would harm whoever ended up drinking it, contract or no contract. This was a massive shift. Suddenly, responsibility wasn't just about what's written on a piece of paper. It was about human connection. In our complicated world, whether you're building software or a skyscraper, this principle says you have a fundamental duty to care about the people your work affects. It's like an invisible thread of responsibility that connects all of us. All right, so from the threads that connect us, let's turn to the walls that protect us. We're going to look at this idea of the home as a fortress and how the law protects our private lives from the power of the state. So in this case, from way back in the 18th century, the king's officials just barged into a writer's home and took all his papers. The judge, Lord Camden, made this incredibly powerful comparison. He basically said that going through a person's private desk to dig up evidence against them is just as violent and tyrannical as physically torturing them for a confession. Wow. And this gets to the absolute core of what it means to live in a free society. When the government claimed they had the authority to do this, Lord Camden's response was simple. Prove it. Show me the law. If that power isn't explicitly written down, he argued, then that power simply doesn't exist, period. And that verdict established that a person's home is a fortress. Our right to privacy is total unless a specific existing law gives the state a key. Without that legal key, the king's messengers are no better than common burglars. So, we have our connecting threads and our fortress walls. Now let's talk about the central, load-bearing pillar that holds the whole structure up. The idea that every single human life has inherent value and dignity. I mean, just try to imagine this moment. South Africa is just emerging from the absolute darkness of apartheid, and its brand new constitutional court has to answer this monumental question. Should the death penalty, a favorite tool of the old regime, have any place in the new democracy? This wasn't just a legal debate. This was a country deciding its own soul. And the court's answer was just profound. It said the rights to life and dignity are the foundation of all other rights. And for those rights to mean anything, the state itself has to lead by example. It has to show, through its actions, that every single life has priceless value, even the life of the absolute worst criminal. So what this really means is that a civilized society doesn't sink to the level of the criminal. By protecting the dignity of the most hated person, the law actually raises the dignity of everybody. It was a conscious choice to move away from a culture of pure vengeance and towards one of Ubuntu, this powerful belief in a universal bond that connects all of humanity. Okay, a structure with no doors or windows is just a prison, right? So for our last piece of the architecture, let's look at the gates that have to stay wide open to make sure ideas and dissent can flow freely. The problem here was an Indian Internet Law, Section 66A. It was written so vaguely that pretty much anything that someone found annoying or inconvenient online could get you thrown in jail. The real danger of a law like that is it basically creates a giant trap for any kind of innocent expression. The court's warning here was crystal clear. Justice Nariman explained that a law this vague doesn't just punish a few guilty people. It casts a net so wide, it scares everyone into silence. People become afraid to say anything controversial because they don't want to get caught in that net. And that, he said, creates a total chilling effect on free speech. So the court threw out the law, establishing a super important principle for our digital world. For a law to be fair, it has to be clear. You and I have to be able to understand where the line is between legal protest and an actual crime. The moment that line gets blurry, freedom of expression just evaporates. So, we've looked at 4 huge cases from 4 different countries. We've got a thread, a fortress, a pillar, and a gate. What happens when you put all these powerful legal ideas together? What do they build?
Well, they form the essential architecture of liberty. They create a society that's connected by a duty of care, one that's protected by a right to privacy, that's grounded in the dignity of every person, and that's kept alive and vibrant by the free and open exchange of ideas. But here is the most important thing to remember. This structure isn't some finished monument that we just admire from a distance. Nope. It's a living, breathing thing that needs constant maintenance, reinforcement, and sometimes even expansion from the very people it's designed to protect.
You see, these cases show us that the law, when it's at its very best, isn't about dry, abstract rules. It's about building a more just world. It's an unfinished project, and we all inherit it. And that really just leaves us with one final question. This is the architecture of our liberty. So, what part will you build?